Hi guys, in this tutorial we're going to build a text adventure game which will contain some movements, some input from the player, some output text on the screen, and that's about it. Currently I've decided to start a new project rather than put all of this into FX Tutorials repo, since I think that this could actually be a standalone project in the future. I'm going to use Java 12 and JavaFX 12. So since it's a standalone project, it's a lot easier to set up the project that way. Right, so currently what we have is just a window really. And we are going to add, the first thing we're going to add is some output. We'd like to see something being shown to the screen. I'm going to use a text area for that. Vertical box as the root node. 15 output, and then we'll probably need input as well. It's going to be just a simple text field. Right, probably want to extend that further, but that's what our user interface will look like for the rest of the game. You have a lot of space for output, and you have one input line for all input. $600 minus 100. Maybe 80. That'll do. Right, so the first thing we want to do after that is to be able to print something to the screen. And if we do init game, for example, I'm not using FXGL for this because there's really no point. It's just text-based UI, and most of the stuff is going to be custom for this game. So there is no advantage of using FXGL in this case. Output, let's have a dedicated function to do that. I'm going to call it print line, which takes line and prints it to screen, which would be output append text line and new line character. So the first thing we want to print is welcome to text adventure version 1.0.1. How about that? And that is exactly what's printed. Cool. Probably want to increase the font as well. Set font to something a bit more readable. 24. That'll do. Right. Well, that's it for output, really, I think, for now. Next is input. We want to be able to type some commands and progress or actually play the game in that way. So for that we will need a command data structure. Going to have something like the name of the command. This is what the user types into the input. We will need some description for the command so that the user knows what the command does, and also some way to store some kind of action so that we know what the command does, or we can execute the command that way. Before I forget, let's add execute straight away action run, get description, get name, and we can construct. I'll let the ID create a constructor. There we go. Okay, so we have a command data structure that we can use, which means we'll need to have a way to map the command names, which are strings, to commands themselves. So if I do that, this is where I'm going to store all of the commands. Initialize game, print, and then let's initialize commands. Commands put, how about exit? It's the easiest thing to implement. New command, the name is exit, description is exit the game, and the thing to run is platform.exit. This is a method reference, by the way. If you're not familiar with this, this basically is an alternative to doing this and then saying platform.exit, which is, if you're not familiar with lambdas, an alternative of that platform.exit. You can see we're saving a lot of space, and the more space you save, the much easier it is to read. There we go. Let's see if, well, that won't work because there's still no parsing of the input. How do we do that? Input set on action, there we go. So this is called when the user presses enter. What we want to do is, well, first of all, obtain the actual input. Input text, which is, nope, yeah, text, yep, there we go. Then we want to clear the text for the input and then parse it somehow. Let's create another method on input. String line as well. And we're just going to pass this into there. Line, I'm not going to parse this to check if there are multiple words yet. This could be an extension for this tutorial. I'm just going to assume that all of the commands are one line without any arguments and parameters, in which case I should be able to do commands get line. First of all, let's check if it's there. So contains key line. If it doesn't contain key, then we're going to print line command line not found, and then we'll simply return. And if it passes this check, that means it is there. The command is available, so we'll just execute. So if I type help, command help not found, and if I type exit, the application exits. Great. Also, I don't want my output to be editable. In which case, I should be able to just start with input. Let's also request focus on input. I don't know if it's going to fix it though. Oh, never mind. We can fix it later. Is there a way to set focusable thing? Focus traversable false? How about that? Cool, that fixed it. So the focus starts with input when the application starts, which means I can immediately start typing some stuff. Exit. So let's add some more commands. Let's exit. Let's add something like help. So with the help command, we can say it prints all the commands that are available. So it prints print all commands. Cool. And we can implement this somewhere here, I suppose. Run help. And similarly, we can use reference to do that. In run help, what we do is we go through all the commands. It's name and command, and we print the name. We then say, how about that, and then command description. Maybe even a tab. Yeah, so help, print all commands, exit the game. These are the commands that we currently have. As far as I can remember, hash maps won't store the order of keys, so you might want to replace this with a linked hash map, so the order of keys is always the same. Commands, but what else can we do? Let's be able to move. So go is a new command. Go, move to a different room. So all these places where the player is going to be located, they're going to be called rooms. I think that's the usual term. Run, go. Run, go. Okay, this is tricky because I've said that we're not going to have arguments, but go will need arguments like go north, go south, west, east. Do I want to complicate this? No, I don't want to complicate this. I'm going to hardcode these for now. And if I do part 2 on this tutorial, then I might introduce arguments, which is not that difficult, by the way, if you want to do it yourself. All you need is to add here something like a consumer of an array of strings. Yeah, that could work. And then you rename this to action. So instead of runnable, which is not going to take anything, you take an arbitrary number of strings. These strings are your arguments, and you can then parse those arguments as needed to do something like go west, go east. This west thing becomes the argument to the command go. So you're essentially making it more robust, more powerful, your input processing. But for now, I'm just going to hardcode these because that's much simpler. In which case, this could take some values and dx and dy. West is to the left, so it's -1, 0. East is right, so it's 1, 0. go north, go south. So the x values are now 0, north is -1, south is 1. I'm still keeping the positive y goes down concept, because it's much easier to think that way because we're in JavaFX world. Although that probably doesn't matter that much. So we can print something like moving by dx dy. Go is not recognized. Go west is moving by -1, 0. Go east is that. South, go north. Yeah, that's fine. Now, if we want to add some kind of combat, again, I'm going to add the basis for the combat system, which you can then extend as needed. We'll probably need an idea of rooms. So each room has a coordinate in 2D space. I can construct a room by just using these coordinates. And we're going to have monsters, possibly. So does the room have monsters? Actually, no. Let's rename this to is empty. I don't know, because is empty may imply something else. Is okay, I'm overcomplicating this. Let's just call it has monsters, and we'll just rename this to that. That'll be much simpler. And we can then construct something like spawn monsters. So by default, this thing is false. We also need get x and get y. Spawn monsters will set has monsters to true. By default, it's false, and we can also kill monsters, which will reset this to false. So this is a very basic way of simulating combat. You could actually turn this into an RPG. In fact, you could use the RPG tutorial and integrate it into this tutorial, in which case because you already have a combat system in that tutorial. So that could actually work together, which was also based on text-based combat. Anyway, so we want to be able to also attack things. Put attack, which is new command, attack, kill monsters in the room. This will run attack. Since now we have rooms, or the idea of rooms, I need a layout, which is going to be a two-dimensional array with let's turn it into a grid 10 by 10. So how does that work now? Initialize game, initialize commands, initialize rooms. Probably need to get rid of magic numbers. Right, so rooms X, rooms Y. We create new room. And if, let's do 20% chance that this room will contain monsters. In which case, run go, let's say current room, so current X, current Y, say 4, 5. Room, get current room. I'm not going to check for bounds, but bounds should be checked. Just heads up. Rooms current, no, current X, current Y. So when we're moving, let's add a gameplay mechanic. You can only move if you've defeated all the monsters in this room. So run go is going to check if get current room has monsters, then you can't move. We need to say that the room still has monsters. Return. Run attack should remove those monsters, kill monsters. If we can move, then current X dx, current Y dy. Can print now that you are now in room current X, current Y. Let's see if we can move. I think I've run something different. I need to run this launcher. Right, how many commands do we have? These are all the commands. Nice. So I want to go south. You are now in room 5-5. Go east. We'll need to find the monsters now, which might take a while. Finally, room still has monsters. So the room 8-5, I'm assuming, has monsters, which means before I can move anywhere, it won't let me until I defeat all of them, which can be done by saying attack. So I should probably print something as well. But let's just see if we can move now. Go west. Cool. So attack should say something like kill all monsters and print line. All monsters in the room have been killed. Right, I think this is it for the most part of this tutorial. Let's just see what we can add to it. Right, help. All these commands. Attack, which should probably not work if there are no monsters in the room. Go north, go west, go no, go west. Let's go, just keep going west. Go south. Probably need to increase the chance of spawning monsters. Go south further. I can't do that. I need to defeat the enemies. All monsters killed. We can now go south. Great. So here we have a basic foundation for a text adventure. Right, in terms of extensions, what you can do, first of all, make sure you can create a more powerful command data structure that can take arguments. in which case you probably also want to take the number of arguments per command. So something like min arguments and max arguments, because I'm thinking certain commands may take more than one argument, or more in terms of the number of arguments. You could pass nothing, and you can pass more than one thing. Like maybe you want to attack more than one monster at a time in one case, and in a different case you only attack one monster. So I'm thinking ahead really with the combat system and all. So you want probably to have variable number of arguments for each command. The next thing to do is really enhance the combat system. These will probably stay, but in terms of monsters, you will probably need a data structure to hold things like attack, defense, like armor, health, all the basic things. And as you improve the game, you might want to add things like stats, attributes, skills even. So you can turn this into an RPG basically. What else do we have? Yeah, these are just placeholders. I don't know if you want to keep all of these things in one place. These probably yes, but in terms of commands, imagine if you have more, and you will have more. You probably want to move these somewhere. Alright, so that's about 3 extensions now. What else? In terms of rooms, you perhaps even want to say certain rooms are not rooms. In which case, well, meaning you can't go that way. So imagine you could be in room 1-1, but you can only go west or south, and north and east are closed. And these could be represented by empty rooms. So when you do something like go, the method run go would check if there is a room where you're going, and if there isn't one, it will say there is no such room, or you can't go that way. In which case you can actually create a really good map as a maze, but without giving the minimap to the player. So the player actually needs to figure out how far he can go in each of these directions. Okay, on that note, I'm going to finish this tutorial. Don't forget to vote on future videos on the community page. I will give you the link in the description, and thanks for watching.